Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're going to be reviewing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 31-23 win versus the Washington football team. This game was really stressful for a lot of people, myself included. There were some definitely nervous moments, and I'm sure a lot of you guys feel the same way, but regardless, the Buccaneers have won. They're moving on to the divisional round. Shout out to the Washington football team. They put up one heck of a fight given their circumstances, and those players came out and played one heck of a game. So good job to the Washington football team. They had a good game. But regardless, the Buccaneers have won. It is the first playoff win that they have had since their Super Bowl win back in 2003, so it's been 18 years, and again, this is the first time they've been to the playoffs in 13 years. So a lot of milestones are being hit here. A lot of things are getting back into the fold, and man, it feels so good. Before we talk about all of the good, I want to talk about some of the bad, which there was a lot. This was not a great-looking game. This was a pretty ugly game from the Buccaneers in certain aspects, in certain regards, and things like that, both from the offense and especially from the defense. But the first thing I want to talk about is drops. This is something that affected both the offense and the defense. In the case of the offense, Chris Godwin had, I believe, 4 drops in this game, and there were also drops in other ways as well from wide receivers, running backs, whichever you want to say. There were some other drops, but Chris Godwin was the main culprit on the offensive side of the football as he had 4 drops in this game. Not good. That's definitely got to improve. Then on the flip side, on the defensive side of the football, there were way too many dropped interceptions. I counted, I believe, 3 dropped interceptions throughout the course of this game by Buccaneers defenders. I mean, Taylor Heinicke, he played a really good game, but he really should have thrown another interception or two if the Buccaneers could have just gotten their hands on a couple of more of those batted up balls. So overall, we've got to see that improve in the divisional round. Otherwise, the Buccaneers are going to be, win one game and then done in the playoffs. And none of us want to see that happen. So the drops have to improve absolutely. The next thing I want to talk about is the pass coverage. I mean, it was not good today for a couple of players. Mainly Sean Murphy-Bunting and Jamel Dean struggled in this game. Taylor Heinicke had a pretty darn good game, 26 of 44, 306 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Not bad stats for a quarterback, but whenever you consider the circumstances that Washington was in, Taylor Heinicke has had very little experience starting as an NFL quarterback, and for him to come into a playoff game and play the way he did against this Buccaneers secondary is borderline unexcusable. So guys like Sean Murphy-Bunting and Jamel Dean, they've been struggling in recent weeks, and it did not improve in this wild card game. So they have to get better. They have to figure out something that can work going into their divisional round. The next thing I want to talk about here is going to be the fact that the pass rush was also not that great in terms of the overall efficiency of it. They finished this game with 2 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, which isn't too bad, but really a lot of those stats came in the fourth quarter of this game when the Washington football team was having to pass a lot and try and make a lot of just basically hope-filled plays and things along those lines. But I want to say throughout the first 3 quarters of this game, the Buccaneers pass rush did struggle in a good way. And Washington has a good offensive line, but we need to see that pass rush improve. The Buccaneers have, any chance of improving their chances of winning in the divisional round of the playoffs. So the pass rush, well, it wasn't terrible. It could have been a lot better, and I think it will improve with Devin White coming back in next week's game. Finally, guys, the last thing that I want to talk about, or the last 2 things I guess I want to talk about. One, there was a fumble by Vaughn. That can't happen. He did not play for the remainder of the game after that fumble. He's a young guy. I think he will improve, and maybe it was just playoff jitters or things like that. But then the other thing, which I know a lot of us were very upset about during the live stream, bad ref calls. Man, that was bad. There was a bobbled touchdown by Sims, a Washington wide receiver, where the ball completely left his hands while he was toe dragging in the end zone. They did not count that as incomplete. They counted that as a touchdown. And then, in my opinion, the more egregious offense was how Taylor Heinicke was sacked. He fumbled the ball, and then it was not labeled a fumble. I don't have footage of these plays, so I can't show you, but for those of you who watched the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up online. I'm sure you can find clips somewhere. But in my opinion, the touchdown one was not the best call, but still could have been, arguable. The fumble one, completely inexcusable. Huge mistake by these playoff referees, and it's not the first time they've made a mistake. They made a couple of mistakes in that Colts and Bills game earlier on in the day as well. So these playoff referees have got to improve, because they are definitely swaying the momentum of games with calls like this. The Buccaneers could have been in a way better position if they would have gotten that fumble, scored some type of points, and then put a little bit more pressure on the Washington football team. Could have had a different kind of layout of the game. But those were two pretty bad calls. I know there were some also calls that went the Buccaneers' way instead of the Washington football team's way. The point is that these referees need to improve as a whole. But with that being said, guys, now we can start focusing on some of the good. And first and foremost, I want to talk about the Buccaneers' offensive line. Donovan Smith proved himself very good in this game, blew my expectations for him out of the water, with Gronkowski helping him in certain situations. He held up against Chase Young insanely well. Chase Young finished this game with 3 tackles. I believe he had 1 solo tackle, and then I believe he only had 2 quarterback hurries. He didn't register a quarterback hit. He didn't register a sack. He didn't register a tackle for loss. Donovan Smith played a great game, so good job to him. Ali Marpet, Ryan Jensen, Alex Kappa before he left the game injured, unfortunately, and Tristan Wirfs all played a great game. They really did. The only time there was any type of sack or pressure was against guys like Ted Larson, the backup guard. The Washington football team finished this game with 3 total sacks. I believe they finished this game with 7 quarterback hurries as well. So not a bad day from the Washington football team, but could have been a lot worse if the Buccaneers offensive line wasn't on their P's and Q's. And in this game today, they were, minus backup guard Ted Larson. So the starters all played a great job, and I will give credit where credit is due. Donovan Smith blew my expectations for him out of the water, which is good. So hopefully the offensive line can keep it up going into the divisional round. The next point that I want to make here is talking about the run game. Really great game by the run game. Leonard Fournette, 19 carries, 93 yards, and a touchdown. Antonio Brown had a rush for 22 yards. Scotty Miller had a rush for 8 yards. Keyshawn Vaughn, while he did have that fumble, he had 5 carries for 21 yards. Overall, the Buccaneers had 29 carries, 142 yards, and a touchdown. I'll take that every single day of the week. I want to see the Buccaneers run the ball more. Unfortunately, Ronald Jones was not able to play in this game as he was dealing with some type of leg injury. He should, hopefully, fingers crossed, be able to play in the divisional round. He was just kept out very late notice in this wild card game. But Leonard Fournette filled in very admirably for Ronald Jones, and Keyshawn Vaughn did his part aside from that fumble. Tom Brady, 22 of 40, 381 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. He had a great game. The receiving game, Mike Evans, 6 catches, 119 yards and no touchdowns. Imagine wanting to rest that guy. Cameron Brate, 4 catches, 80 yards. He stepped up in a huge way. Chris Godwin, 5 catches, 79 yards, and a touchdown on 12 targets. So while he did have those 4 drops, he still put in a pretty decent stat line. Antonio Brown, 2 catches, 49 yards, and a touchdown. And then Leonard Fournette, 4 catches, 39 yards, and no touchdown. And then I'll even throw in Scotty Miller, 1 catch for 15 yards. So overall, really good game by this receiving core. I talked about it in the last video, how I didn't agree with people thinking that they needed to sit Mike Evans because it's the Washington football team. Well, look what happened. Not only was this a very close game, but Mike Evans was very instrumental in making sure the Buccaneers won this game as he was the leading receiver. So, in fact, both those opinions were kind of wrong in a huge way, as it wasn't just the Washington football team, because they hung in this game, and it wasn't just rest Mike Evans because, lol, it's the Washington football team, the Buccaneers will win, because Mike Evans was very instrumental in the Buccaneers winning. So, overall, I was very happy with this receiving core as a whole. Levante David, 9 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection, and 1 quarterback hit. He played great. Carlton Davis, 9 tackles, 2 pass deflections. After that, it does get a little meh in terms of the overall stats. Jamel Dean had 7 tackles, but he didn't do good in pass coverage. Antoine Winfield Jr. had 6 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. I thought he actually did a very good job in the run game. Kevin Minter continued to fill in pretty decently. 6 tackles, 1 pass deflection, and I thought he did okay as a blitzer. Jason Pierre-Paul didn't have a sack today, but he did have a tackle for loss and a pass deflection as well as a quarterback hit. And then really in terms of the 2 sacks, Anthony Nelson had 1, and then Lavonte David had that other one that I mentioned just a moment ago. 6 quarterback hits for the Buccaneers on defense by the way. Lavonte David, Jason Pierre-Paul, and Ndamukong Suh, Raheem Nunez-Roche, Anthony Nelson, and Will Golston. So Shaq Barrett was a little quiet. He had 2 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Definitely got to improve on that. The defense as a whole left a lot to be desired versus Washington. And going into this divisional round, that's going to be the unit that I want to see improvement on, the defense. And I think it will improve with Devin White coming back, adding more cohesion to that pass rush, and hopefully making the job of the cornerbacks a little bit easier as well. Also, Sean Murphy-Bunting had an interception, so while he did struggle in pass coverage, he did have that interception, which was very good for him. And then finally, Ryan Succop, 4 for 4 on his field goals, 1 for 1 on his extra points. He's been phenomenal, and he really has solved the Buccaneers' woes at kicker that they have had for so many freaking years now. Basically, for 13 years now, they've had these kicking woes, and right now, as it seems, Ryan Succop is the answer to those, prayers, basically. So, shout out to Ryan Succop for being a consistently great kicker. But with that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this review. Let me know your thoughts about this game down in the comment section below. Who did you think did a good job in this game? Who did you think do a bad job? And what do you think about the Buccaneers divisional round playoff prospects, I guess, in terms of them potentially winning that game? Right now, it is going to be either the Saints if they win or the Rams if the Bears win. So either way, it's going to be an incredibly difficult matchup. Let me know which team you would rather play down in the comment section below. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video or the next live stream. The Buccaneers got a playoff win, and right now, life is feeling pretty good. But until the next video or the next live stream, I'll see you guys in the next one. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.